Hello, and welcome to the Hello You Show, where we talk about big dreams and taking real action. Through transformative stories, a bit of neuroscience, and real conversations, this show is here to help you explore creating your next level life with authenticity and passion. I'm Jessica Rice, a design techie and former engineering leader turned vision evolution coach on a mission to help other women rise up and lead a life of purpose. So get cozy and say hello again to the real you. Hello, and welcome back to the Hello You Show. My name is Jessica Rice, and I am your host for today. And today we have a very special guest joining us, Jennifer Soenen, who is a time productivity expert who enjoys helping others to really manage their time optimally. She knows from experience that this is the master key to living a fully charged life. Her systems are strategic and easy to implement. She's also formerly a trained teacher with over 18 years of experience and a certified mastery coach. Along with her education, she has many diverse experiences that provide her with a unique perspective and real-world applications. She's also a mother, partner, coach, teacher, and golf lover. And overall, she's on a mission to teach others how to gain control of our most precisely and precious non-renewable resource, our time. So thank you so much, Jennifer, for joining us today. I appreciate you taking the time to be here.
Thank you for having me, and I'm excited to share and get to know your audience.
Oh, most certainly. Well, I know that we're a little bit on different coasts. Can you share with us where you're joining us from today?
Yes, I am all the way up in Canada in Thunder Bay, Ontario, and that is 18 hours away from Toronto. For people who know where Ontario, Canada is, a lot of people associate Toronto, so I'm way on the west side of our province.
Okay. We've had a few guests from Canada recently, so welcome.
Thanks. In fact, I'm a little bit closer to like Duluth, Minnesota.
Okay.
Yeah, like only 3.5 hours. So,
Okay. All right. I've been to the Twin Cities before.
okay.
It was many,
Yeah.
many years ago. I went to the Great Mall, and that was exciting.
Yes.
So I know that, so you started out your career 18 years in teaching. What led you to coaching?
Well, I always had a passion to coach, and I definitely wasn't too sure how to develop that. And, I grew up on a farm. And when I told my dad one day, I was like, oh, I want a farm, like be an entrepreneur. And he's like, nope, go get a job. go, go get a job. And there is a pension, go do that. And so I listened to him, but never really got rid of that passion to, have my own business, to kind of have my own say. And, some people would say, well, teaching is my shadow career in the sense of not fully living into what I wanted. I feel that, you know, teaching provided me so many experiences, and it definitely is like like a strategic step in being able to be, a very impactful coach, because it gave me lots of, captive audience. I have students, they have to come to educate to school.
Mhm.
So I definitely got to practice different skills along the way. And then as I matured and definitely had a few different experiences, and I still had that pull to have my own business, to really coach and be a little bit more impactful than what I felt that I could do within the confines of the education system. And so that's where I started my own business and really, took some extra courses in life coaching. And then I've just definitely over the last few years really niched down into time, because I think it is the one, like the key, the master key to being able to live optimally, like however that is, right? I'm not here to say you have to do this and that. It's your ideas, and I help you implement them.
Mm. Well, thank you so much for sharing a bit of your background with us and kind of what led you into coaching. I know that, teachers always have such a giving heart and they want to help other people to succeed. And so you kind of touched on it a little bit with time management and the importance of that. What was the piece that kind of drew you to that? Or was there a moment where you just really realized like this is really where I specialize?
I definitely, as I was developing like a course for just more general life coaching, I'm like, this isn't it. Like I'm not feeling it. And I just kept on coming back to time management, decision making, which I use time with as well. And it just kind of really developed and just coordinating. I'm a very much a teacher in the sense that I like to teach the whole body and really be aware of, okay, well, how can people learn not only have their brain on track, but also their body? And then I
Mhm.
just really through a lot of research and kind of creating my what hasn't ever come out, my course in goal mastery, I was just like, you know what? It's time. Time is this the thing that keeps coming up. And, with teaching with people, with talking with my friends and family and clients, it always ended up being, well, I don't have enough time. How can I fit this in? What is that? And so I experimented with myself, and I can honestly say I do way more now. And I'm also way more relaxed and
Mhm.
being able to flow through that. So,
Mm.
and just even being able to, I was definitely a people pleaser. And then when my marriage was dissolving and my son was so young, I was like, I need to stop pleasing other people and start figuring out what I want, because that's going to make a big difference.
Mm. Well, you touched on a few things there that, it speaks to me too, coming from a background in corporate and so many people just struggling not only, with time, but also like the stress of that and the stress of feeling like I don't know how to lead my life. And thank you for sharing a bit about, the things that you were facing too, because it's not always easy. It's not always perfect when we're starting out and trying to think about like, okay, how do I make things work and fit together?
Mhm.
So tell me a little bit, like you work with various modalities, with time, with coaching, there you have holistic practice
Mhm.
as well. Can you share a little bit? Like how did all of that even help you as you were, kind of finding your path through this?
Well, definitely, EFT, emotional freedom technique, any of the relaxation, the stress reducing activities and tools. I call them tools because, again, I grew up on a farm. So I like to reference, like, oh, what's in my tool belt? And I would try the different things so that I could come back more to the present moment. Because a lot of times when we're anxious or feeling different emotions, it's because we're thinking of the past, thinking of the future, but forgetting right where we are. So I played around and I've always believed in more of the holistic, like, yes, medication has its part, but also we can do a lot with our minds and our bodies to help regulate. And so that's where, like, I mean, I've been exploring that since like my mid teens. So that really comes into play when I'm working with clients and, you know, anxiety's high, stress is high. Well, I'll share with them different like tools that they can potentially use, and we'll try them out. We'll play with them and see if it's going to regulate their body a bit more. Because a lot of um, situations, it's about that regulation. How can I bring my heart rate down? How can I, because once I do that, then my higher executive functioning, my brain can get back online and I can start making some decisive choices.
Mhm. Mhm. Well, I love that you brought all of that up because sometimes we think that this is the core problem. or that we're facing. We don't really know how to articulate it. And then sometimes it's like, oh, it's all of these other things too that we have to bring into the mix to really be able to focus on those things that we want out of life.
Yeah. And I find this is where, you know, my teaching experience and really comes into play where, I can very good at breaking down, okay, did your kind of stress happen before the event, during the event, or after the event? And then there are different strategies at all 3 points that can be utilized to help regulate, and you can use your time the best way that you want.
Hmm. Yeah, I don't think that we think about that as much. Like, the correlation between like our stress and our nervous system and time and, whether or not we're actually creating the time or using the techniques and tools like you've mentioned. So where do you feel like when clients are coming and they're working with you, where do you find that they start to really see some of the greatest breakthroughs?
I With my time strategy framework at the beginning, I call it evaluate, but it's creating awareness. Like, let's get some status on where you are right now. And also, I want to know what you think is like a 10 out of 10 perfect time, right? Like what kind of feelings. But in that, creating the awareness, I provide an energy roadmap. So we work with the client's natural energy flows, and they track that throughout the day. So it's just like a battery. They'll mark off when there's 100%. They're feeling like bang on, or, there's 75% and, 50, 25, and 10. So those areas, and they record that for like 5 days. And it's a simple checkbox. Like, it's not at all laborious by any means, but that provides me some information, and I'll synthesize it and then produce a energy roadmap so that we know when their peak performance time is, and that's at 100%. So being able to capitalize that, like, is amazing. So this turnaround time can be like 10 days. I usually say 10 to 20 because depending on, that they record for 5 days and then I map it and turn it around. And that is light bulb moments, because there's lots of research to show that, we all have 24 hours in the day, but not every hour is equal. So if you can capitalize on your peak performance and you worked within those like 2 hours, then you can gain an extra hour or two. So that can be like 5 to 10 hours a week if you really hone in on that peak performance time. And then not only that, with that energy roadmap, I work with the client specifically and say, okay, 75% is collaboration time. What projects are you working on right now that require collaboration? And let's try and book them in during your collaboration time so that it's, you're utilizing that time again very well. And so we create an ideal roadmap. I create it with the client so that they're not guessing. If they know that they're feeling a little bit off, they have a task list of, okay, this is what I can do during this time to, utilize this time well, and then move forward. So that the my energy mapping method, I find, is quite, like, it really opens the eyes to people, and they're like, wow, that really does work, especially when they start to apply it and we work together and kind of bring that in. So knowing that is really key.
Mm. That's so fascinating because, I don't know if we always think about like where our energy is most, in available as a resource versus when we're more depleted. Do you find that there is consistency amongst most people about when they have the greatest amount of energy for specific tasks, or does it truly vary from person to person?
Well, I would say that some people definitely, their energy can flow, and that's why I take an average of 5 days.
Mhm.
I know myself, like, with I share custody, and so I would take it on an average of 2 weeks because my schedule when I divorced, I definitely had a 2 week schedule. And that was because I had different priorities during the different weeks, right? So
Mhm.
that, and then also neurodivergency. So people who have ADD, ADHD, what I am discovering is that their peak performance is split into two, like an hour here, and then a little bit later, they'll have another hour. So that's why I'm saying like it is your personal roadmap. I can generalize. And I think sometimes some people really, I had one other client who was determined to fit herself into a morning person. Like she fought this. And I just said to her one day, I'm like, why are you fighting this? And she goes, well, this is what all the literature says. Like there's the 5 a.m. club and I love the book, but
Mhm.
I'm not putting the book down, but there's a lot out there like get after your morning, do this. And she was definitely the type. She had 2 kids. Well, she has 2 kids. And her time was 10 at night to midnight. And I said, embrace it. Like if you're getting your work done, embrace that. And then that, yeah, when you wake up, you want to spend time with your kids. I'm different. I like to wake up early and have like 3 hours by myself, and it's bliss.
Mhm.
Everyone, um, that's where I find time is very personal that way.
Mm. That's so incredibly fascinating because you're right. I mean, there's usually like books that tell us, like, generally our peak performance is in the morning. We have our greatest lull around 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. But there are people too, like, they're either really creatives or they're just night owls, and that's when their brain comes alive.
Mhm.
So I think it's really fascinating because, corporate America in general doesn't build around that, unless, of course, they just want you to work around the clock, which is somewhat true as
Yeah.
well. Um,
Well, and I think because our worlds are shifting from more of a physical labor to mental labor, that
mhm,
I'm working with a corporate team right now. And so I did all their individual energy maps. And then we came together to do a mastermind. And the understanding that people walked away from that mastermind was phenomenal because there were 2 people on the team that their peak performance were like it's in the afternoon. And everyone realized, oh my goodness, we're trying to, and collaboration was like later on. And they're like, oh, the other team members are like, I'm so sorry. Like, I'm trying to make you have meetings at 8 and, 9 in the morning, and you're just not functioning. Right.
mhm,
So I think it may start to shift. And so that's where, different performance parameters, how do you measure that, especially when we're in a knowledge industry now, right? More than
mhm.
before. So it is going to be a new challenge for sure.
Where do you see, like, that's really interesting in the sense that, we have different team members with different peak performance times. Is it a struggle for them to try to find compromise to make that work?
Well, with this team in particular, there was like, I could see a general tendency when most of their 75 and 50% overlapped. And that's when I suggested, well, and that's the best time. I said, here's generally this is the best time. And then the team leader had a copy of everyone's roadmap. So when I said, when you're booking your meetings with them, really try and get their 75% and yours, see if it overlaps some. And then I also provide strategies like, you know what, this is the ideal. It's not always going to be the ideal. What are activities and strategies that we can enhance to maybe wake our body up more than it needs to be at that it's natural, right? So
Mhm. Mhm. Okay. Well, I really love this because I think that it's such a, like, we are continually evolving. And I think that, and in our workspaces, especially now that more of us are working remotely, we have different, flex schedules. There's just a lot more that we're dealing with. Like you touched on, we're not so much in the physical space all the time. Like there's just a lot more that's happening.
Mhm.
So it kind of opens up this idea that maybe we can be more flexible to meet the needs of from people in relation to how they work best.
Yes. Yeah. And it's definitely takes a lot more trust in your team because, especially with the knowledge industry, you don't see product every day. Like
Mhm.
you can, I know, whatever project management system corporations use, like people can input, but it doesn't really, you know, sometimes equate to how much time it took them.
Right. Right. And
Mhm.
those are really good points. And I think that, we're seeing some big changes. And I think it's hard for certain companies to trust people in that capacity because they're used to looking at performance in a very specific way. Um, but I think this is really fascinating because now we're providing maybe greater opportunities or options for people who operate differently. And maybe do you find too, like when they have, different obligations in their lives? I know that there's new parents with young ones versus parents who don't, and just different types of things that can sometimes, we're taking care of family members or whatnot, where it just impacts our schedules in different ways as well.
Yeah. And I think that's a really good point, right? Like, I mean, how I would probably have a peak performance may be different in my 20s than now at my age, that it does definitely flow. And that's again kind of relating to the whole like it is personal. Like you need to take in your own decisions. And one other strategy that I really employ and buy into is more of a not a to-do list, but it's a power list. So at
Mm,
the end of the week, if I did these 2 to 3 things, that would make me feel like I've I'm productive, I'm accomplished. And some people that it takes a little bit for people to kind of flip the switch on that because they feel like they need that to do. But
mm,
um, I was just meeting with a client today and she said, you know what? Letting go of the to-do list is nice. She goes, because it doesn't overwhelm me. I don't have to sit there on Monday and think, or Sunday, what are all the things that I need to do? I focus on that power list and it naturally comes like a two or three steps before, like, oh, okay, I need to do this. And I'm not stressing about that. Um, if something popped up on Monday, well, I know I blocked out, 2 or 3 other days for my peak performance. I'm going to maneuver it that way. And I said, your motivation goes up when you miss one day that you have had it scheduled. You don't necessarily freak out. You're just like, okay, now I know Tuesday, I'm going to protect this and have some hard boundaries.
mhm,
And whatever else happens, right? Then that will happen, but I'm going to get this done. So,
mm. That's so incredibly fascinating, and I love that it seems so empowering, but, flexible. I think sometimes we
mhm.
just everything starts feeling really rigid, especially with, like, to-do lists and, we start thinking about time blocking and all of this stuff, and it actually overwhelms us. Like, how am I supposed to do all of this? So it sounds
Yeah.
like what you're talking about is actually, in some ways, really freeing and so supportive at the same time.
Yeah. And like, I mean, I do time block, but I've never really encouraged a client to be like have everything blocked out. I said, you need space. Everyone needs space.
Mhm.
And when I first started this, like 12 years ago, I remember I had a beautiful like day planner, but nothing was in my day planner. Therefore, I said yes to a lot of things and then got angry because I'm like, I still had things to do, but I never put it in.
Mm,
And I said, so you put in the important things and that will block out, but you still have space for the unexpected, right? If,
mhm.
you're especially those of us who work from home, right? You have people coming in and, things happen. And so being able to be flexible with that is releasing definitely.
Mhm. Well, and it sounds like, you're building that neuroplasticity at the same time where now your brain is actually becoming less rigid, more flexible with different approaches that, happen throughout our day because we can't predict everything, but it sounds like having that key awareness of when do we operate best, now is a good guide for how we can
Hmm.
then show up in the rest of the parts, areas of our lives that are important
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah, exactly. And then providing those strategies before, during, and after. In business, they call them control strategies. Definitely I've switched it because people, as soon as you say the word control, people are like, like you're forcing things. And I'm like, no, no, no. Like it's it's boundaries, and
Mhm.
notice, okay, if I'm kind of going off, how can I come back for sure. So yeah.
Mhm.
And just one thing on the to-do list, I definitely, people who have to-do lists, I'm like, okay, so you want to get this done in a day? And they're like, okay, yeah. And I said, how long? Like, go and put some time against that. And I actually say, don't even do that. Start wherever you want and start your clock, and then write down, because I guess, like, not guess, but it's quantifiable data.
Yeah.
It's written down, oh, I need to do it. But like, if you physically looked at it and did the task, you could never finish it. And yet we set ourselves kind of up for failure that way. Um, so yeah.
Really.
Yes, yes.
We truly do. Yeah, I think we completely underestimate how long something's going to take, and we just start, fitting in as many things, and then yeah, we set ourselves up for failure, and then we feel horrible about it.
Yeah. And then we have the negative self-talk, and it just kind of perpetuates. Yes.
Exactly, exactly. Well, what are some of the ways that people can work with you?
Definitely one-to-one. I have a 3-month container that I absolutely love. And I know clients definitely, because I'm great at scaffolding. So it's not all done right at the beginning, but it's a process, and based on your skills and, what can be taken in, and just to really create an overall schedule. So then at the end, you're empowered. And I like to, use the 3 E's: evaluate. So that's the energy mapping, and then empower with the energy roadmap and all the other tools that come along and come up. And then really personalize that so that you can excel through the rest of your life, and really be able to, make decisions and live optimally.
Hmm. Well, it sounds incredible, and I love how you have this beautiful framework that makes it, easy for people to really consume and think about it in a different way. It doesn't sound overwhelming, but it sounds incredibly productive and strategic. So,
Yeah.
how can people reach out to you? How can they connect with you?
Through Instagram, it's Jennifer Soenen, and same with Facebook and LinkedIn. And some things that I also just forgot to mention, I do work in conjunction with coaches as well, so that, the beautiful tools that they're sharing with their clients, that they can impart with them too. So not only one-to-one and corporate, but also, helping out coaches to make sure that their strategies are being implemented.
Hmm. Perfect. No, that makes perfect sense. I think we're like, I don't know, just figure it out.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where the energy mapping really helps, because it
Mhm.
provides that data. As much as I'm holistic, I still like, give me quantifiable data. Like,
Yeah. No, absolutely. Well, if you were to send a message to someone who, maybe they're just feeling like it's impossible, like I really can't get my calendar under any semblance of order. Every day is different and I just feel hopeless. Would you have a message for them?
yes, and great question. Definitely, if you feel that you are overwhelmed, a quick time audit, in the sense of, and time stands for, it's an acronym for treasured investment, um, mandatory, and then empty time. A quick little, overview on a few days, and find out what category is getting filled up the most, and really, you know, look at how can I have a little bit more treasure time into my schedule. And then that tends to relax um, into the overwhelm. It definitely, and um, you know, reach out to me, look at some of my social media, and I'm always willing to have a chat and know that it can be, because we all have the same time. So it's about prioritizing decision making, and it is possible.
Mm. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. I think it's going to be incredibly valuable for so many people because this is probably the number one thing I think that comes up for most who are, we've got busy plates, we have busy schedules and lives, and it can feel so overwhelming at times.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you again for having me on, and I look to forward to future podcasts with you.
Oh, well, thank you so much. I so appreciate you taking the time. And we will definitely put everything within the show notes so that you can reach out to Jennifer and connect with her and also get in touch with her resources so that you can start feeling like you have greater empowerment over your time as well. And make sure to join us next week as we have another amazing guest. Thank you for tuning into the Hello You Show. It's been a pleasure to have you with us on this journey today. If you found value in our conversation and want to support the show, please take a moment to like, follow, and subscribe so you never miss an episode. We'd also deeply appreciate it if you could leave us a review. Your feedback not only helps us grow, but also enables others seeking inspiration and authenticity to discover our community. Until next time, keep embracing your story with purpose.